Hey, look, we're back. That's right, we're back to working on the 1968 C10 in bright white. Front and center. We're center stage here today. A little more echoey in here because I got some stuff cleaned out. Okay, so getting back to work on the 68, it's time. We've bounced around 71, 72, you name it. I'm excited. I'm glad to have us back in the shop. Well, you see, I got my gloves on. It's because I'm going to get some work done today. I want to do the exhaust. And the reason being is you're never going to have better access. You're not working upside down, on the floor, overhead, all that. That made me think of a couple things. I should probably make sure my brake lines are extra super tight because you can get into them way easier here than anywhere else. We should finish the fuel system eventually. Soon, really soon. We've got most of that in, and a little bit of work back there. That's nothing going to concern us in this area. This is the area of concern for me because the next thing we're going to do is bring the cab in, and we're going to put that on the hoist, the body hoist, and we're going to get the cab fixed up enough to put on the chassis. When I say enough, I want to make sure I do the top, the hard to reach areas, the bottom, underneath, cowl. It doesn't mean the doors and the rockers and all that have to be done. They can be done on the truck. And sometimes I think it's better because you can get a little better fitment. Nothing's going to move. It's not going to be twisted. Anyway, that's for later. This area, when we put the cab on, is going to make access a lot more difficult. So let's get as much done here as we can. So I got started on the exhaust without you just to kind of get some things in order so I wasn't running around the shop while you guys are watching me, always watching me. And I realized that doing the fuel system and getting this exhaust in, I can just get right to work. Well, that never seems to be the case because the motor needs to be in line, straight in the chassis before you do exhaust, or it's not, once you straighten it, it's not going to fit. So I thought, well, that's no big deal. I'll just push it over. And I forgot I never drilled a hole in the transmission cross member for the transmission mount. And at that point, I thought about more stuff. And it's just, there's an order to this. It's not like a puzzle on a tabletop where it doesn't matter which piece goes. This is one of them puzzles that has sequential parts to it. So I was looking for the wiring harness. Now, I know you guys love wiring as much as I do, so I ain't worried with that one bit. Pawing through all the stuff Tom brought me for the truck, I found, of course, we had the wiring harness for the motor. I found the wiring harness for the front clip, horn and turn signals, headlights, all that. And the wiring harness for in the cab, I believe is in the cab. At least I hope it is. Otherwise, that's a lot more work. But I don't have the wiring harness for the rear, the box, basically, the rear end and tail lights, license plate light. So we're going to have to buy one of those. And when I say buy it, it's generally almost, if it isn't cheaper, it's close. Because they buy their wire in bulk and they don't have to mark it up much to make money. By the time I just buy all the stuff to build it, I've spent the same amount or more and a lot of time. So I have to remember to do that before we put the cab on. Again, I can fish it through with the cab on. That's not the end of the world. I'm just trying to save myself that headache and explain to you guys that it's a good idea to do as much as possible before that cab or box or whatever goes on because the access is fantastic. So enough talk. Let's get to work. I'll get you moved so I'm not standing right in front of you. You like it when I move you around anyway. So let's go in here. Yeah, I know. Zoom, zoom. Oh yeah, are you looking over there? That hood over there? Yeah, I'm not even gonna go over there today. But closer, closer, closer. There's a few things over there. Anyhow, that's it for that. Let's see what we're gonna do here on this transmission mount issue. You might as well stay up high. Got a good angle here. So I can't drill the hole in it because what did I go and do? I got the motor in there. Should have done that sooner rather than later. Yeah, me and my later. Well, today it's later, and because I didn't do it sooner, it's going to be a little more work. But not bad, not bad. Let me get my jack under there. What I figured, that's loud. What I figured we'd do, is get this jack under there with a block of wood under it, under that transmission. Just take the weight. Oh, there's a lot of weight. engine training, you know, get the weight off of that cross member, and it should just slide back. Well, it would have earlier, but I got a little fuel system in the way. So I might have, I gotta go up higher. I might have difficulties, but you guys like watching me struggle. Yeah, I know you don't want me to, but it is entertaining when somebody struggles. But I don't wish it on anybody. Probably gonna scratch my paint. Let's stop right there. I think I can sneak in there with a drill bit. Up and down, old guy up and down. You hear all those noises. I know you can't see this drill, and I'm not going to move you an extra time. Basically, there's 2 holes in the cross member for the original mount. This uses a single bolt mount. So we're going to go evenly right in the middle. And I didn't go with a big drill bit, which I should have to give me a little leeway, a little room. But let's make the right size fit. These cross members, they're not thick, but this is tough metal. We're almost there. All right, we'll go easy now. Less pressure, more speed. Yep, that's because I didn't tighten it enough. Too much pressure. All right, we're through. Well, I said we're through. All right, we'll go high speed, just knock them burrs out. All right. If you guys are watching, this probably won't fit. No, it'll be fine. So we can get the transmission centered. We can get started on this exhaust. I got some things to show you there. We're going to use the old exhaust that came with the truck, came with the motor from the last truck. Well, we're going to use part of it. All centered. I don't like forcing anything. Should just go right in there. Naturally, we don't have any bolt holes lined up here. That's okay. We can drill holes. I don't love it. I'm just a little confused. Must be center holes. Nope, it's got them on the outsides. All right. I was just double checking. Be patient. That should be close. Yeah, close ain't good enough for this. It's got to go right in that little hole I drilled. Now, hands on a hammer. I'm just bumping it a little. A little there, a little there. Is that it? I'm already regretting. Oh, that's it. Look at that. Even on camera, I got it. Noisy. Everything's got to be so noisy. Yeah, it's workshop. So now we're mounted. We're in there. We got weight on the chassis. Awesome. I'll make sure I'll put a square in here later. Not that you need to have it square, but I'm picky. Let's get this. I didn't tell you this either, real quick. I buy these carpets, rubber back carpet pieces. You get them at a store nearby that sells them for like $1. And I use them for like pig mat, if you will. But I've used pig mat before, and it absorbs a lot of oil. But the weight of the oil will go through it, and it'll still get some moisture on your concrete or whatever is under it. So that ain't great. This is rubber back, so if you get some drips and spills on it, like I had a long time ago, remember the mess I had, it'll absorb quite a bit. And once they get completely soaked, throw them away just like you would a pig mat or anything else. But these are cheaper, easier, they slide around, and they protect the floor. Now, if you overfill them, they'll run out on the four edges, and you'll have a square. But just an idea for you. That's mounted. Now we can get started on exhaust, because I'm not going to bore you with tightening brake lines. That's not fun. Real quick, I'll show you what we start with over here. I'm going to walk around the truck real quick. Oh, yeah, if you guys don't mind, real quick, hang on, waste time. Like and subscribe, would you? I appreciate it if you did. All right, we're done with that. This exhaust is what came with the motor, the tranny. It's a simple, just off the header, straight down through I call it a resonator, a teeny tiny muffler, thrush, whatever you want to call it, and then out the tail. Well, the welds on it are incredibly bad, but they're holding, so be it. They are super ugly. I've made ugly welds. I know what an ugly weld is. But if you notice, here is our oxygen sensor. Now there's supposed to be, well, there's an ideal position, but anywhere but straight down because water will fill in them and ruin them. These aren't straight down, which is fine, but they're sticking out in a fashion that in this particular truck, I don't know what the truck came out of. If you had to replace them, they would be inside the frame and you'd never get them out. So you'd have to drop the exhaust out, which the way I'm going to build the exhaust, it's inside the framing. So dropping the exhaust isn't just unbolting it and letting it fall down. When you go to remove or replace this exhaust someday, it's going to have to be cut in sections in order to remove it. And the new exhaust replaced the same way. And it's for clearance purposes. We don't want anything down below the frame. We might be dipping below the frame over there. We'll talk about that when we get over there. But just a little as possible. We got some different things to deal with this 68 C10 in bright white because it's a short box. And that changes a lot of dynamics that you wouldn't normally think of. But basically what I want to do is take this, well, I'll just go to the other side, but I want to cut the parts that are good in this, put them in there, get my routing going, tack it together. I have some more piping, but I don't know if I have enough. I bought plenty for my vehicle, the 71, and I've got some leftover parts. Maybe we can use them. So now that I walked over here to show you all this and get on my hands and knees for no reason, let's get to what we're actually working on. I'm going to start with the driver's side. I like to go with the most difficult. That way when I get tired of it and I dread it, we're on to parts that aren't so difficult. You can probably see right there. So I cut off the header bracket, which has the oxygen sensor on it. Now I can either put it up here, which is going to be stuck inside the tunnel area of the cab firewall. Just be almost impossible to replace. You can rotate it up. Well, that's going to hit the cab. Rotate it this way, and you're going to be between the cab and the frame. Not a good idea. I think the inner fender well comes down here, so we don't have that. We have way better access, but we don't know precisely where the metal's all going to be when we put the cab and the front clip on. So that's a disadvantage, but I would rather have the access. So now this will rotate wherever you want because the header clamp, it'll spin on there. So pointing in the downward area where you can replace this from a hoist easily, you either put it, well, you could go straight forward with it. I don't know why I don't like that. But now that I've talked about it, I don't know why I don't like that. But, you try not to make it flat or level because water will pool. Try not to, as long as it's not straight down, which is totally wrong. So I clocked it off towards the bell housing because that would be the easiest access for a mechanic to work on it later. If I clocked it off towards the outside, that would probably be fine, but you're in a tight area over here. I don't like it. So I chose that way. There it is. The next issue why this side is much more difficult is we have the shifter here. Now, somebody has converted this. I think it's a 4L60. They've converted this over to C10, I believe, square body, the rocker style, which is also what this truck used back in 68. The problem is they use a big bracket that swings around, and every one I've ever dealt with either hits the exhaust, they pretty much do, or comes very close. I believe my 72, there's times where when you put it all the way down to first, you can actually hear it hitting the exhaust. Now, I rarely ever put it in first. Touching the exhaust isn't hurting anything. But the point is, not a lot of room here. I had an idea. I think he's going to convert this to cable driven. But if in case he doesn't, or I don't know what that cable driven thing looks like, we're going to try to give him some room. I say him but it'll likely be me because I'm the one working on it. So this pipe should slide right over that. By golly, it does. And that gets us, that's almost perfect. We can clamp or weld this on, it doesn't matter, I'll probably weld it. And that gets us below this rocker point, but I can't remember, and I could go look, if the bracket comes around the back side or the front side, but at least we've dipped down and gave us some room rather than coming right in front of us. Problem is now we're too low to get through the chassis. So I might, don't know, might use a different one. Let's look real quick. And this is what exhaust is about, folks. Fit, try a different piece, fit that. Then we'll get to marking it, cutting it, and we'll find out that we did some stuff wrong. That's okay. So here's a 90 instead of that was a 45, I think. Yeah, 90 might be better. So 90 goes on there just about the same. It gives us just a rotating area here, not as large as I'd like, but it does come back up. I don't know if you're not at the right angle to see that, but without moving you all the time. This is probably a better fitment. And then as far as dipping below the frame, I'm looking at maybe a third of a pipe. So a 2 7/8 or 2 3/4 pipe, maybe an inch below the frame. Not too bad. It brings us up here. Again, you can't quite see the angle, but it puts us in a spot where we can now manipulate this a little this way, a little that way, and we're not changing our access here. We don't want to get too close there, although I can do some heat management, wrap that up, maybe exhaust wrap. You know how big I am on that. I don't like things burning through. But that gives us a much better angle. We can straighten out from here, head back. Don't fall off of there. My idea, and I do like this so far, with this particular exhaust, I'll get you the better angle. I think that's better for you. I don't know. You can kind of see the upward movement now. We can put our next bend on it and stay in this area, away from all this metal. That's not a problem. I could move that back. I could wrap that. Again, a couple inches is plenty. I just err on the side of safety. So we're going to bend back and we're going to come towards the back of the truck through here. Well, this becomes our next problem, the crossover. I want to put the little tiny muffler here. Tom, who owns this truck, seems to think it's not going to be that loud or not too loud for him. And that's great. It's his truck. He would know. He's heard this motor run before. But I'm convinced it's going to be too loud. But again, I'm going to do what he tells me. It's his vehicle. And he can have it any way he wants. But I'm going to take a little extra effort and put the muffler in this section, his muffler, and leave room in the back that if he decides later that, yeah, it's just a little too loud for him and his wife, that he can add a muffler a lot easier by just putting a little bit of effort from me now. So there's what I'm, just keep that in mind. No, it's good. We're here good. The next problem we're going to run into is back here. This is the rear cab mount. And because we're working on a short box, we've changed our dynamics here, and this is the part that people don't realize. This cross member that the exhaust goes through, and that's where your trailing arms hook to. This is where the pressure of the vehicle pushes forward. On a long box, this is farther back because the frame was shortened under the cab. This is the same length from this cross member to the rear end, but it's farther forward on this vehicle. What I'm getting at is the cab sets back here at this line I wrote right here. You can kind of see it. Where I'm a long box, this mount is, I don't know where the bolt, right there. This mount goes right here. Well, if you move the cab to this area, it just basically is about a finger's width above the frame, and it's cut out for this hoop. Puberty. Now we got the cab back here. Well, as before, I could come through my cutouts and make my loops around the trailing arms for the exhaust. I can't do that. If we come through here and make my loops up, we're going to hit the cab. So it's not going to fit. We have to sneak and finagle out a way to come back past this little line I wrote here in the dust and get over our trailing arms into this muffler area where we're going to turn it down on the ground and not even go over the rear end. So it's going to be a little different dynamic. And what I thought there, I've already moved my pipes on you. What I thought we would do here, and we're going to head there in just a second, is this is our pipe centered. Well, we can't come up into this area, we'll hit the cab. So I want to try and sneak over these trailing arms right here in this area where they don't move much. I mean, they move 0 at this pinion angle. And as you go forward, it moves more and more. But an inch here is like a foot in the back. I think we can sneak through there. So that's my hope. And then we angle back here. We won't know until we test drive it. But at worst case scenario, we can always come back under here and put in a hook. It won't be very easy. So I want to make sure this works the best we can now. But that's my idea. We can pull back into here more. And there's less movement the farther back you go. But I'm running up higher here. So it's going to be tricky. We're going to make it happen. All right, so back up to our dipping loop. Some of you might have already thought of this. Disadvantage to everything. If I take my exhaust down here and dip it low enough that I can get past this shift point, now I'm going back up. We have a perfect place to hold water. That's not ideal. But we do have a stainless steel exhaust in this vehicle, and you can drill just an 1/8 of an inch hole in there. You're never going to hear that. It's going to be the tiniest little leak, and that'll allow water to drip out. And now normally I would tell you not to do that because the hole rusts back in, but with a stainless steel pipe, you shouldn't. It might get full of garbage, but I don't know. So this is our first little hoop-de-lip-de-doo. And then, are you picking up what I'm laying down? No, we're not quite there yet. And we're going to have another little jog. No big deal. But this is kind of what we're after. I know it looks silly because I haven't cut this shorter. This will get cut shorter down here. And that's going to get us past everything, past our cross member. That's what we're after right in here. It's just a matter of marking it. I do this side-by-side stuff, and it doesn't work very well. You need to have it slid on there because 2 inches will throw your mind off. But I'm thinking we need to cut way back down into here. So let's grab my pen right here and start getting after it. Another mistake I've made, and I'm sure people do, is this is loose fit on here. So while you're marking these, you want to kind of make sure this is straight, unless you plan on welding it on that crooked angle. I don't want it down that low under the frame, so I do want it up here, kind of where it belongs, where it's happy in the straight spot here. And we start marking things where we want them. And we've talked about this before. Single lines, double lines, that way you know where things go. Sometimes I'll do one on an angle like a point. Make 2 little points that go together. But that just is for alignment purposes. I don't know how well you can see that. So there's the first one. Then we need to figure out how low to cut this so that this pipe slips on. I don't know. We're going to take her kind of close. It's just metal, right? We can always weld it back on. Guesstimate. We'll make that cut and we'll refit it. It's just one quick cut, and then we'll try it again. I'm not going to take you over there. You're going to hear it from my microphone. It's super, super loud. We'll just chop this and we'll refit that again and see how it fits. So bear with this. I'll give you a headphone warning here in a second. I know you can't see me. It's just a regular chop saw. I don't have my safety glasses, so I'll turn my head and close my eyes completely. So, headphone warning, it's going to be loud. Ordinarily, I would take and clean that burr off of there, but again, trying to be respectful of you guys. Let's put this back on, line up our marks. Let's see where this goes. Oh, it dropped it. Scared me. All right. Hey, for one cut, not too shabby. Now this can be rotated too, but that's not really going to do us much good. I like that, folks. I think we're coming in nicely. I like to stay as low as possible in here because, again, I don't know where the cab's going to hit. Worst case scenario, we can always take the exhaust loose, chop it, and extend it. I don't like that idea, but this is kind of, I don't know. I like that. And the transmission's there. I could go out and measure another truck and make sure we have, I don't know, 2 fingers width above the frame. I'm pretty sure we do. So there's where this is going to go. It won't stay right where I want it. Now we got to work on the next piece. Again, I'm not going to keep you guys here for all that tack welding. This should be tack welded a little bit so I know where we're at in the back. You definitely need to go lower. You can see that now. But I don't know how much lower. If we pull this off, that gets us a little lower. How far does that go? We could take that right to the edge. And once you weld it, it doesn't matter. That does get us a little lower. Puts us lower into the frame. You see, it's one thing or another. I think we'll go with the angle. I'm going to look at that real quick. We're a little under, but not bad. I really want the access on this side. So the next part we want to slip in here is that muffler. I left it sitting over here. Excuse me. So here is the muffler. You can see just how huge that is. Yeah, not very big. I want to put this in this vicinity here. So I'm going to chop this pipe, and it's unfortunately going to butt up to that pipe because it's all the same length. And I'm wondering if it's worth the work. This tailpipe piece was designed to be at the end, way back here, out of frame where you can't see it. And that would actually be less welding, less monkeying around if I leave it back there. Then he could always cut that out and just put in a bigger muffler back there. Yeah, maybe we'll just scrap my idea. Trying to do everything perfect all the time isn't always the best plan. It's good to try. I think I'm going to scrap that idea. Extra cuts, tougher fitting. I don't like it. Let me grab a straight pipe here. See how we're doing. So we want to come through this hole back here that you can't see, I know. Now, ideally, I like everything square, but this little bit of an angle is not going to hurt a thing. We'll weld it up and make it pretty. I do like that. I think we're going to go with that. Now, we don't need to mark any lines in it as far as rotational. It doesn't make any difference. We just have to pie cut it so I can weld it up good. I think we're going to roll with that. All stainless. Going to be, yeah, let's push that up a touch. We're going to run with that. So let me get my pie cut marked. I got to think now. Cut more off of this side. It don't matter which side. I just want that angle. And then I can rotate it to give me the other angle I want. I won't be able to rotate that once I weld it. So that'll be our next cut. I'll just set it there. I'll move you back here. So the next, we just keep moving right along. This is how I do it. Again, I generally weld each piece separate rather than keep moving. We're back here. We've come through this cross member, and we're a bit on an angle. I've got too much angle to sit on the frame. But that brings us to probably our most difficult part. I've used my two, a 45 and a 90. See what I have over here. I think I'm running out of that size pipe, but I have the next size smaller. Again, we won't weld this on. This is for fitment. We'll have to buy some. I kind of like that. Pipe's obviously too long. So let's do this. We know we're coming through there. Yeah, let's pull that out. All right. So have I got you back far enough? Sorry. So we're coming through here. We know that this angle. Now I'm going to push it forward because the pipe's too long. Keep pushing that forward. We want to come through the center of this hole right here. And I believe just angling this up a little, we're past this line. We can come up with a small angle on this. And that's going to put us under our cab, but over our cross member. And then I didn't grab one. Another elbow here will take us into our muffler, staying away from our axle. So this is going to work. I'm at the point now where I got to start tacking things together, making sure they fit. And we'll have one side exhaust started. The other side, we already talked about for a moment, but you get the idea. I'm going to weld this together. I'm going to show you how it worked out, what's going on. When I bring it back, I'll have maybe both sides done or this side done, and we'll finish the other side, the passenger side, next week. So this is exhaust. We're back to work on the 68. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, and so long for now. Oh, by the way, I got like 5 or 6 subscribers this week, and thank you. I really appreciate the subscribes. They mean a ton to me. Have a good day.